I'm so excited to talk to you. I was actually just playing some music and dancing like around my apartment to like get in the vibes. And I'd love, maybe we can just start with a little bit of how movement and dance came into your life.
Oh, such a beautiful invitation. I've told this story a number of times, and I always get curious whenever I'm asked it again. It's like, oh, how's it going to come out this time? Never really got into movement or dance until I was about 14, and my mother was the associate producer for musical theater um, company in Mill Valley, California, where we were both born, and called the Mountain Play. And I was at a cast party, and there was a swing band playing, and I was watching a couple of the cast members dancing together. And that was really the moment where I was like, oh, something just kind of sparked in me. But I knew, because I had the inside scoop, because my mom was the associate producer, that the next production was going to be West Side Story. And because I was so into musical theater, I knew that that production was very dance heavy, and specifically swing dancing and partner dancing was a part of it. So I knew that if I wanted a chance at getting into that production, I had to get into dance. I had to become a dancer. In the theater world, I had to become a triple threat, right? Which is what we say when you can sing, you can act, and you can dance, right?
Yeah.
So that felt really kind of exciting to me. And then when I got to the audition for West Side Story, yeah, I made the cut, got to be Baby John. I was 15. So, so discovered salsa, discovered swing, and we had these Cuban dancers come in who taught us salsa. We had 7 Cuban dancers, 3 of which got flown in from Cuba. Don't tell anyone. Going out swing dancing like every weekend I could in high school, like for my whole high school career, and it really kicked me out of this kind of like sense of not belonging in the high school that I was in. And really like my sophomore year, I enrolled in my dance program. We had a professional dance choreographer running the dance program there. I started into composition right away. My very first piece I ever choreographed was a 10-person swing number. And so I like pulled these guys in, my friends, who like, not only did I have to teach them how to like swing dance, but I had to teach them how to dance. Like I was setting choreography on like non-dancers. So I had to teach them how to swing dance. And it was quite the quite the undertaking. But yeah, that's what really got me into it, was that connection in partner dance. And yeah, that was 25 years ago now.
And like, I'm curious because there's even within facilitation, there's stages of facilitation where yeah, I won't preload it, but I'm curious if you can name some of those stages that your facilitation has gone through since the beginning, since 2011, and now where you find yourself as a facilitator.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a pre-stage to 2011 where, in my senior year of college, I decided I wanted to write, direct, choreograph, produce, and have, some cameo in my own original production as a way of, ending my college times. And so within that, there was this directing kind of quality that transferred into my dance troupe in Seattle. And in that was one kind of mode of facilitation where I'm world making, right? So there's this world that's coming around, and the play was called Touch, and it was all about asking the question, what would the world be like? What would a world be like in which asking each other to dance was unmentionably normal, right? And that the critique being that we're really traumatized, basically, although I didn't have a trauma-informed lens at that point, but we're really scared of touch, right? We're really scared to like, until there's like some crisis and you have to like, you roll up into a parking lot and someone's having a seizure on the ground, and you have to like come over and put this person on their side or they're going to die. And this is something that actually happened to me. And it's like, wow, like if we're so caught up in the fear that we can't reach out and touch a stranger in a moment where it's really necessary, right? Then how do we connect to that sense of wholeness and wellness within ourselves that that brings nourishment through connection, through physical connection. Also, I started teaching high schoolers in 2008. So I was teaching swing dance and I was teaching hip hop at a teen dance company in 2008. And so I brought that into my work with the high schoolers. I brought that into my work, and then later on with adults. And then after I kind of decided that, like, oh yeah, teaching is what I want to do, that all kind of transferred over into this journey into presence is really what I've kind of landed on with Cocréa. And when we can really show up in that commitment to the work that we're here to do, and really bring a level of integrity to the work of, like, yeah, I'm here for connection, I'm here for attunement, I'm here for wellness, really is what it came to. And this is a practice for becoming whole and for remembering our wholeness.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit for those who don't know, who are meeting you for the first time? What is Cocréa and how did it come to be?
So Cocréa is a continually evolving holistic movement practice that synthesizes the physics and musicality of social partner dance, specifically drawing on American vernacular jazz dances like blues and swing, which is where I started out, and incorporating mindfulness practices and relational intelligence skills. So a lot of attunement, a lot of attention is placed on attunement, a lot of attention is placed on for me, with that's deep listening to energetics, what thoughts are coming about in my own body, what energies are coming about in my own body, what agendas are here, what present, right? And coming back to the presence, coming back to the moment, right? I'm here dancing with this person, right? And then, within that, also finding a level of mastery within rhythm and within musicality specifically, such that we can really find a place of surrender. We can really let go into the experience of the dance without needing to think so much about getting it right. And the word Cocréa came to me through playing around with different words that I wanted to represent the practice. And the words that I landed on were collaborative organic communication, revolutionizing embodied awareness. So that's Cocréa.
Ah,
Yeah.
beautiful. I had no idea that it was a acronym.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow. Say it again.
Collaborative organic communication or connection,
Yeah.
revolutionizing embodied awareness.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's also Spanish for to believe together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So sweet. The name of the podcast is In Presence We Trust. And so as you're speaking, I'm just like, exactly, like you're exactly speaking to why the name is what it is. And why I'm speaking to facilitators, and why this is what all the conversations revolve around, or where they start from, or what they come back to. It's all about presence.
Hallelujah.
Amazing. So cool to start your own thing, your own baby, your own modality. You've also described yourself as an ecstatic technician. And I wonder what that means in terms of sensing a group field.
Yeah, it's interesting. That word is that term is coming in kind of fresh and new for me. I think that's more in reference to my DJing as an ecstatic dance DJ. I think it still works as because DJing ecstatic dance is facilitation.
Totally.
100%.
And you have to sense the field to know what music to play. Like the field is guiding your song selection.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one way. I also really love to put myself out there as a somatic permissionary. So bringing people into that space of, like, it is okay and it is safe to be in our bodies. And then, of course, all of the things that come with that statement of like, right, from a trauma-informed lens, and a lot of people's experience is quite the opposite. And so how do we create a brave space? And this is one of the things that I try to talk about, is how do I create a brave space for people to find the courage to find safety within themselves in this experience, within this space that they're stepping into. I can't make it safe for everybody. I cannot make it safe for everybody. I do my part. We all do our part. And so I think that that's one of the things that the ecstatic state really relies on, is us really calling in that experience for ourselves and doing what we can to make ourselves a safe space that then infuses the field with that. But it takes courage. It takes courage to get to that space where we can break through.
And how do you track in a group field, in a particularly a group field that's centered around movement, dance, sound? How do you track coherence and fragmentation?
I tend to kind of code switch back and forth between being in the body, being in movement, being in sensing, feeling space, and then coming back together and watching how people are. Or one of the questions that I continually am asking is, how do we seem? Right? How do we, as a group, how do we seem together? And so really kind of dropping that presencing of mindfulness into the space, right? Paying attention with intention, non-judgmentally, right? Not from a place of like, oh, they seem triggered, or oh, they seem scared, or like, but like, what's the feeling that as I'm sensing into this group, right? What am I feeling? And then putting it to the group. And then through people's commentary that they offer, and through the commentary that certain people don't offer, right? I'm watching, I'm paying attention to body language. 93% of all communication is nonverbal, right? So really tuning into like, where's people's posture? Are they, right? Are they back here with their arms crossed? Are they standing on one leg and kind of like imbalanced or wiggling around? Are they rooted, right? Are their faces kind of in a freeze place, or are they up, out, and forward and engaged, right? So just really paying attention to where people are in the room, how they seem, and then getting the verbal read as well, like how are people really taking in the experience and then able to articulate it back out and process it. So that's in a facilitation space, where I'm teaching, where I'm offering tools, where there's guidance. And the DJing, when I'm DJing, it's a little bit of a different, it's a little bit of a different experience. It's very like kind of in the moment, fly by the seat of your pants, like in more instinct than anything else, and really needing to trust that instinct in the moment a lot. That, oh yeah, we're going in this direction now. People are ready for this, and I'm still kind of learning and experimenting in that realm. So that's probably all I'll say about that for now.
Yeah, I bet it's a long there's a long resume there in today's world of dance and music to be really proficient and yeah, at the top of your game as a DJ. Yeah, lots of respect. Um, yeah, I want to hang out here a little bit more because I'm really coming alive with what you're sharing, and I'm going to ask the same question but in a different way, which is, as you're facilitating, how do you listen? Like, what are you listening to? And you've already shared such beautiful ways, but I think there's more there.
One of the primary ways that I listen is the breath and the pause. I think the biggest gift that I can give as a facilitator is that of space. I think that we're so conditioned and trained to consume and take in information. There can be almost a voracious kind of quality to people's attention and presence sometimes. And what that requires is that we slow down. It requires that we actually take time to breathe space into the body, and tune into what's happening there. I'm taking an interest in that pause to see where the energy is going to light up in the room. I'm kind of softening my gaze into the center of the room when I invite reflection, and then I'm just kind of noticing where my attention goes, and I'm noticing where other people's attention is going. And oftentimes I'll just kind of, my head will swing to one side or the other, and I'll just meet someone's eyes, and oftentimes it's like they're the ones that are ready to go. So it's a little bit like dowsing, right? You're walking through the woods with your metal rods, and you're waiting for them to cross where the water is, right? It's just a little bit like that, where it's like, whoa, over here, right? And it takes a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of releasing expectation, I feel like. So there's a real element of surrender to the listening that that I move with and I work with, because this practice really is about each person's unique experience, and how they are finding connection, how each person is finding connection, because our connection needs are different, right? To be able to hear each person, right? We want to be able to create space for that. And so I think it just relaxing into the mystery through that spaciousness, and just allowing the gene, like one of the gene keys, allow, accept, embrace. And the process that I came up with is invite, allow, acclimate, relax. And so inviting that space, allowing whatever is going to come, to emerge, and then acclimating, now we have this piece to work with, right? How does that change things? How do we work with that change? Oh, maybe there's this excitement in that change. And then, where can I find the relaxation and the ease? Now we're here, right? Maybe we've come up in energy a little bit, or maybe somebody says something that has the capacity to maybe bring us down a little bit into some heaviness. Like, okay, from there, where do we want to go? Because I might have a lesson plan, but what's just been brought could be leading us in a direction like, oh no, there's excitement there, right? There's friction there, there's heat. Maybe we need to really like play with that heat.
Mm, mm, beautiful. As you continue developing and becoming as a facilitator, what are you having to meet in yourself to hold the kind of spaces that you want to hold?
Oh, great question, Rachel. Yeah, I love that question. The biggest thing that I'm meeting is something that I've met before, and feel like I've worked with in stages. But the thing that's kind of coming through the most right now is fear of success. And for me, the key piece in there is, it has to do, it's related to this slowing down, right? And I perceive the world is moving far faster. The human world is moving far faster than is sustainable or nurturing. And so for me, I've always felt like the creativity, the art was, more valuable than, and the connections that are made, right, is more valuable than any price tag I could put on anything. And the big and is, and there's also this this kind of warding off of doing too much, of the responsibility of needing to like continue to show up, right? I often, all throughout high school, I was oscillating. I was just like, am I going to be this, wildly famous movie star who's like, being philanthropic and just like funding theater projects and, community art things left and right? Or am I going to go be a monk on the mountain? It was like between these two things, like wildly in the world or wildly out of the world, right? And so I feel like the thing that, presence asks of us is to step all the way in, right? That self-assurance of, playing within our strength, which is Cocréa's evolution, what it's here to learn, how to really show up in our strength without forcing anything, right? So that we become truly the majestic beings that we can be. And I feel like that's the thing that I keep getting, called into by, various people in my life as well. And just kind of like, I can feel that, that holding back of just like, yeah, but, right. And so I can really see that Cocréa is inviting me into this, like this self-assurance through its very work. And to dance with life, to really, to be really all the way in. And of course, what that looks like for each person is different, but I can really feel that that's really my learning edge right now, right? Is to like, yeah, it's like, okay, you're afraid of this, great, right? Step in, dance with it, right? Because otherwise, you're just like hanging out on the edges, and just being like, no, 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 and it's like, it's okay to say no. It's okay. It's like having boundaries is essential, right? If we don't have that boundary, it's really hard to actually trust a person, right?
Yeah. If you were to fully step into that next part, what would that, like, what is that? What does that look like? When you fully say yes to that part that you're dancing with right now, what will be next?
So the big thing that I'm really stepping into now is developing my coaching work, and specifically working with couples is where I've always felt this work had particular power. The reality is that we, when we're in partnership, we are creating something that is larger than both of us. And so to be able to harness the power of dance and the connective power that resides within understanding how we move together physically, how we actually embody it together, there is a salve, there is a remedy that I see within that we take the language out of it, we take the thinking, we take the critical, analyzing mind out of it, and we're able to simply be in body and the sensing feeling together and restore that sense of intimacy and connection. And then we come to the conversation, and then we come to the place where it's like, I feel that process results in truth, results in a greater truth, right? When we can actually be in that body space, that feeling, sensing space with the other, and find that sense of coherence, right? Talk about the field, right? It's all about cultivating coherence. And then from that place, we can go into our processing, right? I want to get, I really want to get to this place where we spend less time in that mental, emotional processing, right? Obviously, it's essential. We're not going to just do away with that. That's not what I'm here for. But to really bring us into a space of precision, to bring us into a space of intimacy that creates more streamlined relating, so that we can bring our genius and we can bring our gifts, rather than just kind of limping along in life and like, oh yeah, my partner and I'm doing this and we're so busy, and it's like, okay, what do you do for joy? What brings you into a space of aliveness and the fullness of relating that life, that life offers.
Yeah, I want to, gosh, there's so much here. I feel like we could talk for a really long time, but I want to unravel something, because what's so fascinating to me, my world of facilitation or even embodiment isn't at all in partner dance. That's, actually, I have one very funny story of me and a partner who tried to take dance classes at one point, and it failed miserably, and it was just revealing all of our dynamics, and we couldn't even continue with it. And I'm so curious in this of like, from teaching partner dance to facilitating groups that do partner dance to now unraveling relational dynamics and potential. And I'm like, there's so much in there that I want to understand how that's living in you and how you're approaching it and how you're playing with it. Like we're at the same we're at a same point, but there's all this other stuff that you have this dynamicism with that I'm like, show me more. Like, tell me more.
I've been on this journey following this intuition that partner dancing together has something for humanity. And it wants us to be deeply rooted in the earth, but also deeply rooted in our hearts. The Einstein School of Medicine, I talk about this in my TEDx talk, like the Einstein School of Medicine did this 21-year study on aging adults and found that partner dancing decreased the onset of early dementia 76%.
Wow.
In a control against other folks in that study who were not, right? And so like to me that's just mind-blowing. And the reason why is because partner dance is activating the neuroplasticity of our brain more than any other activity that we do. It's activating more parts of our brain than just about any other activity. And that's just really wild to me. And it's like, okay, how do we harness that power? How do we harness that energy for regeneration, right? And for the capacity to make these connections, right? And so there is a lot in there that like, yeah, it's going to bring up all the stuff. It's going to bring up, right? Because that's what, that's what other people do. Being around another, right? Sometimes you're in a room and somebody walks into the room and you're like, what? Like, right? Like now everything's different because this person's in the room, because their heart field is interacting with the heart field of the people around them, and it reaches all the way over to me, right?
Yeah.
We can't, and this is just something that like we can't afford to ignore anymore, of how our very presence in spaces in the world impacts people. And so we have a responsibility to cultivate our energy and to bring it up in vibrational frequency, right? And this is something that, I mean, quantum physics, like this is not new anymore, right? This stuff has been being studied pretty exhaustively over the last decade, and before that even. And so I think that when we bring that into the relational space, right, we then have to like really come into this emotional sobriety and start to take responsibility for those shadow patterns that are showing up and impacting the relationship. And sometimes, right, it's a mismatch. And I think that if nothing else, this work is really effective for showing us who is not for us, right? And wouldn't that be such a gift, right? If we could really have something that could give us that sense of discernment of like, oh yeah, like we don't need to keep doing this anymore, right? I love you, cool, thank you. And then for like, as we use it and as we practice together to feel that coherence building, like when it's there, wow, incredible. And we can start to like really see really viscerally and feel really viscerally where this other person is triggering these pieces in us. And then, oh, right, that's mine now, right? To take that responsibility for, yeah, that's mine. Now I take responsibility for that. I work with that. Thank you so much to this container for showing me that which is mine to work with and to transmute. Cool. Now I can take that back, do that work, then come back, find the coherence again. What else is here, right? So it's all driven by this curiosity and this interest and the invitation into deeper allowance, acceptance, and ultimately relaxation of the heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When someone comes, which I'm imagining there might be frequently, that's struggling or resistant or having a hard time being present or deepening into the dance or finding their way, like I guess there's a two-part question here, which is one, what is usually blocking people and how do you support them?
I mean, the simplest answer is fear, right? It's always fear. And that fear can be around a lot of different things, right? Fear of rejection, fear of, fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal. Ultimately, like all of those are forms of rejection, right? But it could also be related to core wound of shame or sense of denial, right? Inadequacy might be one, just that fear of like, oh, I can't do this. I don't have any rhythm, right? And this is all stories, right? So really, I think that being able to access those places and get honest, right, which is why Cocréa is here. The purpose, like what deeply fulfills it, is to put people in touch with our dishonesty, right? That's like, and once we can actually really see where we're being dishonest with ourselves and maybe masking these fears, masking these wounds, then we can start to really move them through the body, right?
Mm, mm. I have the imagination that you have a very great capacity for attunement, and that I imagine you've developed that primarily through your partner dance. And I'm curious if you can speak to how that has translated into your life. Like, what is the impact of your capacity for attunement on your life, and maybe also who you are as a facilitator or professional?
So I'm kind of like in this process right now of really coming to a deeper appreciation and acceptance for myself as a highly sensitive being. I realize that I kind of always have been, but as more and more comes out around neurodiversity and this particularly around ADHD, I was wanted professionals wanted to put me on drugs when I was 9 years old for ADHD, and bless my mother, she would not let them. And so I've gone I've gone undiagnosed for my entire life. And it's really interesting what I kind of cultivated as an actor early on and realized was that to be a great actor, I needed to have a great life. And in order to have a great life, I had to be interested in life, right? I had to not just like interest, because that's, and one of the things that the science is showing about folks with ADHD is like, if they're interested, we can hyper focus better than anyone else, right? If it's not interesting to us, we could care less, right? We're like, whatever, I'm out of here.
It'll
Like,
never get done.
right. It will never get done. Right. And so the hack that I found for that, totally unconsciously, but through acting, which is why I say like one of the best degrees that you can get is a theater degree, because it will focus your ability to find anything interesting, right? Because you might start to play a character where they're interested in something that you have no fascination with. But if you want to play that character well, you have to, right? And so for me, the attunement comes from this place that I got, that I was already working with, but then Richard Strozzi Heckler in his book, Anatomy of Change, was able to articulate, deal with excitement, with curiosity and interest. And so for me, every dance that I come into, I just flip into like, what is this body? What is this body capable of? Where is their center? Where is their relationship to the ground? Can I feel what dances they have in their body? And I think that absolutely influences my facilitation as well, because I'm able to really scan the room and look and see and who's really feeling the rhythm, right? How do we seem, right? Are we all feeling the same thing? And then tuning into the difference, right? Like, oh, right? Because in order to really start to speak this language that we're cultivating together that's emergent, we have to have a primer, right? We have to all have a similar vocabulary that we're drawing from. I feel like that's my premise for cultivating this coherence, right? And it's simple, right? But it's like, it's also specific. We don't have to, I'm not about teaching steps or sequences so much. Sometimes I do, but there is a couple foundational rhythms that if we can all have in our body, then we can always come back and find each other, no matter how wild the dance might get, no matter how dynamic, right? And so I think that that's really like what I've kind of tuned into over the years is, as this highly sensitive person, how can I really listen to everything that's going on around me and then recenter in the music, because that is the one thing that we can all hear, right? Is if we can all learn rhythm and really listen for the downbeat and the simple, just like the heartbeat of the song, if we can all find that, anyone can dance. And we can, if we can get that, then we can all have amazing dances with anyone to any music.
So beautiful. I think that's the perfect ending moment. Uh, Thank you so much.